So some new pictures have finally emerged of the interior of the refreshed Model S, and we have been wanting some pictures of that for quite a while. But this doesn't come out of California. This actually comes from a user out in Toledo. And this was actually posted on Reddit, courtesy of Craig and Tom with the Michigan Owners Tesla Club. And overall, I was extremely excited to see this. Still have some questions, but answered a few things that we were curious about.
What was interesting, as many people probably noticed first off, there's no yoke.
No yoke. And so a couple reasons maybe. This is like a test mule. So perhaps they didn't want to put the yoke in there because it wasn't finalized. Or they didn't want it to be as obvious that this is the refresh. Obviously, though, when you look inside and you see that screen, it's different.
Yeah, you can definitely tell, though, the steering wheel that is installed is not the typical Model S steering wheel.
No.
So it is the new steering wheel.
Yep.
It's very similar to like the one we saw when we looked at the source code when the S was first announced.
Exactly.
And we found the rendering showing that new steering wheel. So, yeah, just because we see it doesn't mean there's going to have a steering wheel or a yoke. We don't know yet.
Exactly. He did say, though, that some people at the service center actually said that the yoke will be an option. Yet to be seen. I mean, if they're planning deliveries soon, it's like there's not really a lot of time to pick what steering wheel.
I don't know if I believe that. I think that maybe that's what they're saying in the service center, but they probably have about the same amount of information as we do. And if all of the renderings currently on the website show the yoke, I think the yoke will be standard, not an option.
Exactly. And now another thing that we have answered is where will park, neutral, drive, and reverse be? Originally, we were thinking that maybe it'll be on the center screen where you have to touch what direction you want to go in.
Or I was thinking swiping. What if
or
you would
that would be cool too.
Swipe up for reverse, swipe down for drive, something like that.
But it actually looks like it will be underneath the charging pad where like the hazard button is, because on this test mule there's actually labels with little arrows that point right above it to, I guess, where you have to touch. I wouldn't have guessed them to be there. It makes sense, I guess, but how are they going to incorporate that? Because none of the renders have shown that.
Elon did say that it's going to have like AI to determine if it needs to be going forward or reverse.
Yeah.
I still think a quick way, he did say something about touching the screen. And so a quick way to just swipe up, swipe down, because that's not going to take any thinking if you have your one hand on the yoke, one hand to do that. Easy to change direction. But I can see that they probably need physical buttons to actually be able to control those features as well.
Yeah, because like what if you're trying to like just get the screen to come up or down? It could potentially take that as
or if you're having screen problems like we have seen on the older Model S and X, which have the MCU1, the screen could go out, the car's still drivable. You'd still need some physical way to change the gear.
Yeah, so hopefully that does make it into the final production. I mean, this is still just a test mule, so the things we saw could potentially change. But I will say that screen looks great. It looks very well integrated. I would say much better than Model 3 and the Y, which are kind of stood off from the center console. This looks far more integrated. Yeah. So that's great to see. And then we actually got some pictures of the rear screen. No word on if it is removable or not, but still the fact that we were able to see that, I kind of like how it has the white synthetic material around it. It looks very well integrated, I would say that. As well as a well-placed cup over the emergency stop button.
Yeah, that's not a cup dispenser like you might see in a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
That is the emergency stop button, which you will see in a test mule, if you ever see a test mule.
But it's funny how it's taped over the emergency stop button, because isn't like that safety?
I think that, but you can see it's taped that it might only be attached to one side, so it's
they can flip it.
So it's camouflage, and when they're driving, they just flip it over, and the cup isn't covering it.
Yeah, but I mean, these are the first official photos we have seen of the new refreshed interior out in the wild.
Also, though, you can see there's an exterior picture, and you can see how the bumper and a few other features have changed as well.
That front grille is definitely a lot larger. Now, we saw some pictures of the Refresh S out around Fremont that were posted a while back, but they were kind of grainy and everything, but this is just a very crystal clear shot. And you can actually see that front radiator in the middle there has grown a lot. There isn't a ton of room like the previous models. So on the render for the steering wheel, it looked like there were 3 buttons around that scroll wheel. You can actually see on the left side, there are 3, I would say, fingerprints, probably where those buttons are supposed to be. And that leads me to believe, are they bringing back gloss black?
Based on the fingerprints, it looks like that might be the case.
Yikes. But we still don't know, like, what kind of buttons are those? Are they going to give you a tactile feel when you press them? Or what's going to happen? Hopefully they're raised in some manner,
Or
so
a
that
ridge
you know
or something
exactly.
in between, so you can just move your thumb over it and feel which button you're actually touching.
Exactly. We don't necessarily see much of that, but we see the fingerprints, and the fingerprints scare me because I wasn't a big fan of the gloss black in the Model 3 center console, as well as the Y center console. So hopefully that gloss black is not happening, because it looks like in the renders it's more of like a matte black. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's what the final production will have.
So one other thing with the yoke, maybe it's going to be possible that with like easy entry that the yoke will retract in just a slight bit,
Yeah.
might make it that much easier, because currently with the steering wheel can move up and down,
Yeah.
but it's limited based upon the stocks.
Yeah.
So who knows, maybe
It
with
can
the
go
yoke,
in that much further.
and we have seen that on some other cars. I think it was like the ID4 or something like that from Volkswagen. But one of the other EVs that we've seen a prototype for showing the steering wheel going back kind of into the dash.
So huge thanks to Craig for permission to be able to use these, and Tom with the Michigan Owners Tesla Club for taking them. Everyone has been very excited to see what this will look like. We don't even know. And we have an order in for the new Model S and X, and we don't even, like, we've never even seen the interior in person. A render is one thing, but what it's actually going to physically look like can be completely different. So huge thanks to them for these photos. And I guess we'll just have to wait. Now, a little update on our order. We did actually confirm both the S and the X orders. So hopefully we'll be able to get those ASAP. And we are able to get that $2,000 off of that list price, since we did have our pre-orders in before the change and the price increase. But it is still an $8,000 price increase now over like what we had originally reserved. So that does kind of suck.
One thing remains to be seen, though. We don't know yet, but there is talk of a new possible tax credit coming back in the United States. Might be $7,000 for the next 400,000 cars that Tesla sells.
Yeah.
Now, there's talk of that it hasn't been finalized yet, but there's talk that it would start with once the bill is passed, all cars going forward.
Yeah.
But typically when tax laws are changed, it's per tax year. So it could be that all cars built starting in 2021 would be able to take advantage of that tax credit. We don't know yet.
Currently, the way it's worded in the bill is anything previous from when the bill is enacted doesn't count. So hopefully they can change that to just the tax year, because that would make far more sense and make it a lot easier for people.
Also, I think, when people are filing their taxes next year, they're not. I don't think they're going to have something say, "Did you buy as of this date or this date in 2021?" Because there's just going to be confusion. And I don't know. But typically, though, we've seen in the past that it goes by tax year, except for, and even when they had the tax credit decrease, it was based upon quarters. So it's like they don't like to keep track so much of the numbers as the quarters or the year.
Right. So fingers crossed we can get something like that too. Obviously, that would help. Let us know down below. Are the new S and X something that you have pre-ordered? Are you super excited for them? What is your favorite feature about them? Is it the new screen, the new layout? Obviously, the exterior didn't get as many changes as we had hoped for, but that interior looks completely fresh, and we absolutely love that. So go ahead and talk about it down there. As always, though, huge thanks to our channel sponsor, Abstract Ocean. If you are looking to accessorize your Model S, X3, or Y, definitely check them out. All linked down below. And using code Tesla Inventory will get you 15% off of your first purchase. Our two must-haves are definitely going to be a center console wrap, really to help protect it and make your car your own, as well as a matte screen protector. Really helps reduce any glare from the sun, as well as any fingerprints thanks to its oleophobic surface. As always, though, thumbs up if you enjoyed that video. Go and click here to subscribe, here for some other ones. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.